Breath of the Wild is critically acclaimed as one of the greatest games ever created. It was awarded Game of the Year 2017.
Game of the Year goes to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
It has sold more copies than any other Zelda game ever, and it has been labeled as a milestone in gaming history. This game broke boundaries for open world games. No other open world game will be the same because of Breath of the Wild. Exploration is endless, the environment begs for creativity, and the combat is thrilling. It achieves so much. But at what cost? We have all these fantastic things in the gameplay. But what about the story? Instead of creating my own version of the story like I have in previous What About the Story videos, I want to analyze Breath of the Wild's story and talk about what was weak in the story with slight suggestions. No fanfiction this time. Obvious spoilers coming from base game and the DLC packs, but I'll let you know when I start talking about DLC Pack 2, in case you haven't played that yet. Over the years, the depth and intensity of stories in 3D Zelda games have increased dramatically. Ocarina of Time was simple and had small stories that added to the overarching plot, while having a big twist. Majora's Mask built a beautiful and ominous world that told the most depressing Zelda story. Wind Waker revolved around revenge and saving your sister. Twilight Princess had a super edgy story, but it was also incredibly cinematic and epic. And Skyward Sword had the origin story of Link, Ganon, and Zelda, and it was told beautifully. So of course Breath of the Wild was going to top this, right? I mean, the story quality has just been going up and up. Before its release, Nintendo hid most of its story and made it clear that gameplay is the real selling point, not the story. Of course, this meant nothing to lore buffs and timeline theorists like yours truly. We just wanted that juicy story. And expectations grew higher after Nintendo released the story trailer, which is arguably one of the greatest video game trailers of all time.
I think you are now ready to hear what happened 100 years ago.
And then, the game released. And did it exceed Skyward Sword? No. In fact, Breath of the Wild was no deeper than Ocarina of Time. Without DLC, I would say the story didn't even reach Ocarina of Time's level of quality. But when it comes to characters, Breath of the Wild decimates Ocarina of Time, for the most part. Like most Zelda games, the main objective is to save Zelda and defeat Ganon. But unlike most Zelda games, Breath of the Wild is literally just that. Nintendo's main goal with Breath of the Wild seems to have been accessibility, let anyone pick up and play it, and to focus on characters and atmosphere, which is reminiscent of Majora's Mask. But the issue with that is that the side stories and quests weren't anywhere near as interesting as Majora's Mask. A Deku King tries to murder every monkey because he believes they stole his daughter. Compared to, it won't stop raining because a super weapon got out of control. A Goron tribe loses its elder and grand hero and are led by a literal infant who just happens to be the next in line of succession. Compared to a super weapon that causes Gorons to go mine somewhere else. A woman loses her voice because her children were stolen by pirates after her boyfriend died. Compared to Rito can't fly as high because the super weapon is in the sky. The stakes don't feel intense enough. It comes down to just simple inconveniences more than anything. Yeah, the whole game takes place 100 years in the future after everything crazy has happened, but a story needs strong conflict. It can't rely on the past. Now, I'm not saying the conflict is bad, it's okay, but it's just not perilous enough. But within each conflict presented in Breath of the Wild are the characters, which is where the game really shines, for the most part. There are 4 champions who piloted the super weapons, inconveniencing each tribe, and died 100 years ago. Mipha, Revali, Urbosa, and Daruk. These are the 4 characters the game focuses on, and I mean really focuses on. Which is good, but the game is like any person after their first breakup. It's focusing on the past more than the present. In the present, there are 4 more characters who help Link. Teba, the Rito warrior protecting Rito Village. Yunobo, the descendant of Daruk. Riju, the chief of the Gerudo. And Sidon, the fish everyone wants to f***. These 4 characters are essentially the modern day champions. But all they do is help Link get to the Divine Beast, and then they're out of the story forever. Why couldn't they have a reunion or meet with the previous champion Spirit and become the new pilots for the Divine Beasts, similar to the Sages in Wind Waker? Make them relevant, make the present important. The old champions are cool and all, but the game focuses on the past way too much. It makes me want to play a game set 100 years ago instead of the one we're actually given. But focusing on the past does present some cool things, such as the cutscenes with the champions and Zelda. These memories develop the characters actually really well. I feel like I know so much about Mipha, Daruk, and Urbosa. Not so much for Valley, but it's still more developed than the present-day heroes. And the most important piece of these memories is Zelda's development. Zelda is fantastic. This is personally my second favorite Zelda incarnation behind Skyward Sword Zelda. She's determined, scared, friendly, and fierce. She has very clear flaws, and feels the most human out of any Zelda in the series. And she's nerdy! I wish we had DLC where we could play as her, or why wasn't there a post-game where Link and Zelda traveled the world rebuilding it? That would have been amazing. Either way, she's the best part of the story, and that might be because she's the only one who actually lives to the end out of all the champions. And how dare they just keep her the same age after defeating Ganon? Speaking of the final Ganon fight, that's one of my huge issues with the story and even the gameplay. The fight against Calamity Ganon is horrifying. Just look at him! He's scary! That dude's messed up. The first phase of the fight it's cool, but it's not really epic. My real issue with this fight is what the champions do. If you complete all the Divine Beasts, they take down 3/4 of his health. Which is nice and helpful, but Ganon isn't difficult enough to really need that help. He's actually pretty easy. It doesn't feel like a great enough reward. The game should reward the player with a new way to fight Ganon, or even give him a third phase for players who completed all Divine Beasts, or even something beyond for completing all the shrines. Especially when he has such a lackluster second phase as well. When Ganon turns into his pig form, it's too easy, and kind of boring after defeating him once. I mean, it's difficult if you do it on a 3-heart run, but that's about it. The final shot in the music will always be the most epic part about this fight, but beyond that, it just does not feel climatic enough. There needed to be more. Breath of the Wild's final boss is pretty lackluster compared to the rest of this epic adventure. In fact, I would consider it one of the weakest Ganon battles in the series. I think DLC could have resolved the whole final battle issue, but we'll get to that. Here's how to fix the rest of my issues. Just add DLC that takes place after the main story with playable Zelda that focuses on developing the 4 heroes of the modern world. Easy. And speaking of DLC, let's talk DLC 2. So, DLC 2 spoilers. I recently played the second DLC and wow. It's great. It's a little monotonous, but it's great. The final hour was the best part. Link's Divine Beast and the Sheikah Monk boss. It was incredible. But it also kind of upset me that it wasn't in the original game, because the boss fight with the Sheikah Monk would have been the insane twist that the story needed. Every Zelda game has a twist. Sheik is Zelda, the moon is a tree, Hyrule is underwater, Midna is Twilight Princess, and so on. Breath of the Wild has nothing. I mean, I guess the twist could be that it's 100 years in the future, but you learn that in the first hour, so that's not really a huge twist. Fighting the monk and getting a Divine Beast could have been the twist. That could have been the insane moment of the game. And it would have helped make the Ganon final boss even greater. Fighting Pig Ganon is cool and all, but like I said, it needed more. It didn't feel epic enough. Why couldn't Link get his own Divine Beast to fight Ganon in Hyrule Field? His own Zord! Go, go, Power Rangers! Go, go, Power Rangers! Imagine Link and a giant wolf Divine Beast fighting Ganon's final form. It would have been insane, and it would have been perfect. They teased us with Divine Beasts all game. Why can't we just pilot one? And I know we technically do, because it's a motorcycle, but come on, I'm talking about the animals. I just want to pilot an animal. Fighting Ganon in your own Divine Beast would have also been a bigger reward for saving all 4 Divine Beasts. So that would have solved that issue as well. I love the DLC, and it definitely made me appreciate the story a lot more. I wish it was just implemented into the base game. You may think from this video that I don't like this story, but I actually really do. Seeing the characters 100 years ago and unraveling the events that led to Link's awakening is thrilling. The champions are great characters that every Zelda fan will forever remember. Zelda is remarkably well written. Even if the story isn't all that I want it to be, there will always be the future. And what do I mean by the future? I fully believe the next 3D Zelda game will blow fans away. Now that the groundwork for Breath of the Wild is complete, the team can begin focusing on different things instead of spending time on revolutionizing a genre. Focus more on the story, more on the world, better side quests. I think the next game will be fantastic. Despite trashing the story a bit, I truly understand that they had to sacrifice the story for groundbreaking gameplay. Don't get me wrong, I know Nintendo is always gameplay over story, and I understand that. And even with its weaker story, Breath of the Wild is a milestone in gaming history gameplay-wise. It's easy to pick up and play. There's something for everyone. It's gorgeous. It's a game that'll be remembered and praised for decades. It's Zelda in its purest form. And that's what I had to say about the story.
Save her, my daughter.
Thank you all for watching this. If you liked it, smash that like button. And I haven't done a What About the Story in a while, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been wanting to do Breath of the Wild What About the Story for a while. So it's nice to finally finish it, get it out for you guys. And I hope to do some more What About the Story videos, so stay tuned for that. And I'll see you guys